Hello everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I'm doing an in-depth review of the Jinhao 10, also known as the Pilot Vanishing Point Dupe. This pen seems to be gaining quite a lot of attention online. I've seen several videos on the Jinhao 10, so I thought I'd try it out for myself and give you guys my honest review. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to be buying any more fountain pens for the year of 2025, but this was given to me by Mama Björn. She kindly bought this for me, so it doesn't really count. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to start with the technical specs about this pen. So as mentioned, it is the Jinhao 10. I got mine in the color Pearl White and the nib size is a fine. This pen retails for about 22 Canadian dollars. However, you can find it for both cheaper and more expensive depending on where you purchase yours from. This one was purchased from AliExpress. Looking at the body of this pen, it does have a very beautiful look to it. The pearl definitely has an opalescent quality, and if I put on a light, maybe you'd be able to see it better. So I don't know if you can see the sparkles there, but it does have this opalescent, sparkly quality to it, which I think is quite beautiful. It has a fairly heavy-duty clip. It has a rivet in the center, which is where the pen opens. And then of course you have the clicking mechanism at the top of the pen, and you can see the nib come through the trapdoor at the front. This pen does have a fairly high quality feel to it just based on its weight and construction. Every part of this pen does seem to be working in order. However, there are a couple of things that I noticed that I do want to bring up. First and foremost, the actual mechanism of the nib coming out of the trapdoor comes out slightly askew. So in the official Vanishing Point, it will come out straight. However, I don't know if you can see that it comes out slightly off to one side and then kind of corrects itself by the end there. I don't know how much that affects the functionality of the pen. However, I will say that there are certain angles that feel better when writing than some others. The second thing that I want to make note of is that because it is coming out slightly askew, I worry about the quality of the trap door seal in the protection of the nib. I will say that when I don't use this fountain pen for more than a few days, the ink does dry up on the nib and it takes some time to warm back up again. Speaking of ink, let's open this guy up and I'll tell you a little bit more about the cartridge and the cartridge converter. So the cartridge converter that comes with the Jinhao is this one here. It has a very small ink capacity. I want to say that this is probably similar to the Con 40 converter. I don't actually own a Vanishing Point, so I couldn't tell you for sure, but just by looking at it, it is a very small ink capacity. At least you get a converter. However, I just chose to forego that one and use an actual cartridge in here. So the cartridge that I'm using currently is from Pilot, so that's one thing to make note of, that you can use Pilot cartridges with the Jinhao. This one is the Pilot Namiki, I don't know how to pronounce it, and it just goes in there and snaps at the top perfectly. I had no problems with leaking or anything of that nature. You can see this is what the nib looks like up close. It's a very fine nib. This is something that I also noticed was some staining on the nib after use. I don't know how that happens, but I have cleaned it a couple times and it just seems to get dirty along the sides. Again, just bringing that up. It has this little raised portion so you know where to line it up with your pen. So when you're inserting it back in, you just line it up like that so that it slides in and then it is perfectly aligned there. Now, of course, I'm going to do a writing sample for you guys and we're going to discuss how the nib writes and how the actual sensation is when writing. Okay, so here we go for the writing sample. This is the Jinhao 10 fine nib, and then just do a little bit of like that. Now I will say, because I haven't used it today, oops, focus, you can see that it starts off a little bit thinner and then it gets more into the flow as I continued writing. Just popping in to also mention that although it is a fine nib, it writes more like a medium. In terms of sensation, okay, I almost regret to inform you that I do not really enjoy writing with this pen, and I feel like the positioning of the clip was such an interesting thing to do, to have it on this part of the body rather than the top. I'm sure there's a reasonable and good explanation for this, but for anyone who does not have a tripod grip, it's kind of 50-50 whether or not you like it. I was hoping that I would not notice it, or maybe it would help me grip, but because I write like this, my pointer index finger here, is this the index finger, gets fatigued by holding this for such a prolonged period of time. I have tried to slightly modify just by putting it here and then holding it like this. This is a little bit better, but again, it's not really how I'm used to writing, so I do get fatigued easily. And then also when we're discussing that this is a heavy, quite a heavy pen with a thick barrel, that also just fatigues my hands. I'm not saying I prefer my pens to be super lightweight or super slender, but I think for me, this one is just too thick. I do prefer a more narrow writing grip portion. And for those of you who have been following me for a while, you will know that I have wanted the Pilot Vanishing Point for years. I feel like it is such a staple in the planner community, but I can't say with confidence that I'd be able to purchase one outside of just using it for the novelty or using it for shorter spurts of writing. I mean, I do enjoy writing with this one for the novelty of it. I think it's just so fun to be able to click your pen and then go about your writing. But I cannot see myself doing any long form journaling with this, probably just some short planning. Maybe the Decimo would fare better with me because it is the slimmer version, but in terms of this one, I'm just not really enjoying writing with it, and it's kind of hurting my hand. To be honest, if I'm going to be frank, I can't write too long with this one without it hurting my hand. Does that mean I'm not picking it up? No, because I think it is beautiful. It is so nice. I do love the pearlescent look to it, and I mean, it just has a very nice aesthetic all around. Why did they put this here? I don't know. You tell me, because that just seems like kind of a interesting, almost, I want to say, elitist thing to do for those who are using a tripod grip compared to the rest of us who be gripping this thing however we'd like. Anyway guys, that is it for my review of the Jinhao 10. If you own this pen, let me know what you think of it in the comments down below, and same goes for the Vanishing Point. I'm very curious to hear how you are faring with the grip section. That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and giving it a huge thumbs up. I'll see you next time guys. Stay cozy and bye-bye.